Learning today Siman Tzadi Aleph 91 with an interesting question. I think a question which, when I did the course of Rabbanim Tzvaim, of rabbis in the army, that this is a question we had in the test, in the exam. You came to a swimming pool, a group of people, a group of men, everything's snooze there, okay, just a men's swimming pool. And you say, hey, we have a minyan here, let's do mincha here in the pool instead of afterwards going back and taking a shower, maybe all missed. Let's do a minyan here in the pool. You find a nice quiet corner, you have 10 people, and you're ready to begin mincha. Comes one of the guys, runs, and he wants to join. He has only a bathing suit on him. He has a t-shirt, but he doesn't have a kippah. His kippah flew. Why he doesn't have a kippah, I don't know. That's the story. He doesn't have a kippah. What? He went swimming. He doesn't have a kippah. He can use the shirt, the t-shirt he has, or to cover his head, or to wear a t-shirt. So what is better? To use the t-shirt as a t-shirt and to use the t-shirt for covering the head. So you say cover the head, his body. So it's a question. I'm not sure we'll get a definite answer for that. And since we won't have probably a final answer, the answer will be, if you go to a swimming pool, take another shirt from someone else. Again, have two shirts. Find a solution. But sometimes these things do come, and the question really comes to trigger and bring us the question, why do we need to wear a shirt while davening? Or why do we need to wear a kippah? Where does the idea of the kippah come from? Okay, so that's the topic of today, and if we have more time, we'll continue on to other topics. But that's the question of today. Having a shirt while davening, having a kippah while davening, when you come into shul, that's what we're going to learn today. We heard of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, right? Rashbi. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he was in the cave for 13 years, and for 13 years, he didn't have a change of clothes, another set of clothes. So how did they survive without a set of clothes? Hide in the sand. The Gemara says that when they learned Torah, they covered themselves in the sand. And then when it came time to daven, they got dressed. In the clothes. So they used the clothes only for a short amount of time a day. Especially Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he used to mainly learn Torah. Even after he came out from the cave, his main focus was on Torah, less on davening. That's a very, very special group of people who the Torah was so great, they didn't have to daven, because the Torah overall everything else. They completed them without the need of more of an emotional aspect of life. The Torah did everything for them. We need both aspects of life, also the logical, the thinking part, and also the emotional part. And I know for men, we claim that we are logical, at least some of us would claim, but even men need the part of we express ourselves, we use words, we have intention, we ask for things that we need. So we have both parts. But anyway, so we can see from Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his son, Rabbi Elazar ben Rabbi Shimon, that for davening they had their clothes, special clothes, the only clothes they had. Why for davening? Why do they need to have clothes for davening? Or why could I say a bracha? At night, I have only my underwear on. It's Ma'ale Domim. My air conditioner doesn't work for some reason. And I'm thirsty. I'd grab a cup of water and I say shakol just with my underwear on. That's fine. I wake up in the morning, I can say, wash my hands. If I need to, I can say Kriyat Shema. Kriyat Shema or Kriyat Shema, depending on the accent. Kriyat Shema just with covering the underwear on. Let's say a guy wakes up, he looks at his watch, says, oops, 1 minute left for Kriyat Shema, the time of Kriyat Shema. What should he do? If he will get dressed, this 1 minute will pass. He runs, washes his hands, and says Kriyat Shema the way he's dressed, like that, okay, without a shirt on. So for Kriyat Shema, you can just have, welcome, Danny, welcome. We weren't sure if you'll see you here tonight, so I'm happy that you're joining us. Yeah. So we're discussing now.
Hey guys.
So, yeah. Long time no see. We are happy that you are now joining us in person. Yeah. Baruch Hashem. So we're now discussing about clothes we wear while davening. And the question is, we bring up why when we say Kriyat Shema, we can say Kriyat Shema just with underwear on. And for davening, you should have clothes on you, fully dressed. What is it? For the Amida. Typically with tefillah, davening in Chazal, they refer specifically to the Amida. Today, we put everything in one packet from Bekot HaShachar, the morning blessings, until Aleinu Shabeach, or the end of davening. But when Chazal say tefillah, they typically refer to the Amida. The Amida, in the past, I think we mentioned that, the morning blessings they used to say in bed, still in bed. For everything you do, you say a blessing. You stand up on the ground, or ka'aretz alamayim, you get rest. For everything you do, you say a blessing. So, when you get rest, right? You hear the rooster. So you say, so for everything, you say the blessing. We lived in nature. Today, I think the only rooster we hear will come from maybe a phone. We'll start, or today also the roosters, because of the electricity, they lost count. We used to have neighbors with chickens, and at 1, 2, 3 o'clock at night, they used to messed up because of all the lights around them. So today we say in shul. So tefillah, when I say tefillah, I mean Amida. Tefillah is standing in front of a king. And that's the main idea of tefillah. When we daven, we have the merit, we have the opportunity, says the Rambam, to stand in front of a king and talk to Hashem, talk to a king, say to us what we want. Once I wanted to have an appointment with one of the Knesset members to do something, help something with teachers, and sometimes it's almost impossible to get a meeting. Talk to him, talk to my assistant. The assistant doesn't get back to you, and after it gets back to you, it's already not relevant. With Hashem, we have the special opportunity 3 times a day to speak to Hashem. So when we speak to Hashem, we are standing in front of a king. And that's why we behave like standing in front of a king. We stand up, we put our legs together like the angels, and we get dressed. Special, like standing in front of a king. So,
some people would say wearing short pants in front of Netanyahu would be okay.
Exactly. So that's what we'll get to it in just a few moments. What about short pants? What about sandals? What about t-shirts? We'll get to it. That's great questions, which we'll get to it in just a few moments. That's says the Shulchan Aruch. A person is dressed from the bottom part of his body is dressed. He has shorts on. He doesn't have a shirt on, but he has shorts on. He's not allowed to daven. He shouldn't daven until he covers his heart, until he wears a shirt on. But if he doesn't have what to cover his shirt on, or that for some reason he davened without putting a shirt on, he's yatsa. He doesn't need to repeat davening. But the person shouldn't daven without having a shirt on. If he davened already, so fine. It's not a great davening, not the best way, but if it's covered he has shorts on, that's fine. Okay. And why do we need to have a shirt on? Standing in front of a king. You don't go to a king here, hey, with my boxers on, right? Standing in front of a king. It's not just a matter of respect, it's also a matter of we do things. We prepare ourselves, and that brings the halacha, which we find mainly by Hasidim. And you can ask, why don't we have it? What do Hasidim wear before davening? A girdle. What's the reason for a girdle? So it has 2 reasons. The first reason doesn't apply today. It's not necessary today. It's to separate, to divide between the higher part of the body and the lower part of the body. That's more of a division, a separation. Today, we don't need it, because in the olden days, they used to have like jalabiyot, I'm not sure how you call them, but some kinds of grounds or something, and there's nothing separating between the 2 parts of the body. So you put a belt above it, and you create a separation between the heart and the lower part of the body. Today, all of us will have underwear or pants with a belt on. even Scottish, they still have a, how do you call it, the kilt, and the kilt itself, it's tight on the body, right? So it creates a separation built in. Today we have separation built in our clothes. So that reason does not apply. What about another reason? Says the Shulchan Aruch, a person should wear a belt before davening. Okay? Even if he has an underbelt, he should wear the belt before davening because of hikon. Hikon means hikon ikat Elokecha Yisrael. Get prepared. Prepare yourself before you meet Hashem. Okay, prepare yourself before you meet Hashem. And the rest of the blessings you can say without the gartel. Okay, you have a belt on, you have underwear on, but for davening, for that you should wear a gartel on. And now you should ask, wait, I think none of us here don't wear a gartel before we daven. Why is that? If you want, I'm selling here a gartel for a cheap price. You need it now for Mariv. That's the only place you have it. Why don't we wear gartels when we daven? Okay, so let's learn from the Hasidic. The Shulchan Aruch says a person should wear a belt before he davens to get prepared to for Hashem, speaking to Hashem. The answer is simple. If you have now a meeting with the Prime Minister, would you wear a gartel? No? Why not? Our clothes are different. I think the Shulchan Aruch, they didn't have a shirt and pants. They had those long, I'm not sure, they had different kinds, the long coats, or whatever it is. So you have a long coat, you go to meet an important person, you prepare yourself, you put a gartel on. That's the way to meet an important person, even if you have pants on, but you prepare yourself to meet someone important. Today, we have different clothing. So if you have different clothes, you don't need to wear the gartel because that's not how we go to meet a king. Okay, so that's a simple answer for that. How do we prepare ourselves before we daven? I make sure before I daven, try to make sure that my shirt is tucked in, that my shirt is straight, okay, just to make the collar is nice. Small things we do just to have the mindset, okay, I'm now not just standing and saying a few words from an old textbook. I'm now talking to Hashem. So in the times of the Shulchan Aruch, it was putting on the belt. Today, it's preparing ourselves in other ways, making sure all the buttons are buckled up. Small things that we do. If we have a T-shirt on, so to make sure the T-shirt is not half tucked in and not half tucked out. My brothers used to call it, I'm tucking my pants in the T-shirt, right? That's, so to make sure a person is organized and he looks well before he davens. What about, and Harry, you mentioned wearing sandals or wearing shorts. So it's the discussion in the poskim. And in general, the answer is it depends on where you live. It depends on where you live. I'll give an example from one of the army units I used to be. In an army unit, so you have the uniforms, right? And when you meet someone important, you make sure uniform is fine. In the army unit I used to be years ago as a rabbi there was the Shayetet, the Israeli Navy SEALs, Shayetet 13. And in the summer, the combat soldiers, they used to wear it's kind of bathing and shorts. They used to wear the bathing and shorts. Because it's a special unit, so many times the head of all the Navy used to come, I think even once a week, I'm not sure, but he used to come quite often to the base. And relatively often also the Ramatkal, also he used to come to the base every now and then, depending on what crazy things he used to do. I don't know what he used to do, I don't have a clue. I just know that sometimes they used to come to the base. And when he came to the base, you think that the soldiers wore those special long pants or they wore the bathing suits? The bathing suits, okay, bathing suits with a regular army shirt on. So regular army shirt and the bathing suits. Why? That's the uniform of the soldiers now. That's how they meet the head of the army. So can a soldier like that daven with those? It's not regular bathing suits, but can he daven with them? Yes, that's part of his uniform. The question is brought more in kibbutzim. Kibbutzim, I think that's how they do. Australians, how do they walk outside? Americans with shorts. Who has long? They have shorts. They'll have maybe elegant shorts. You could put a belt, almost go with a tie and shorts. Why? Australians, don't ask, okay? They also drink hot beer. So an Australian can meet the president with shorts, yes. Can he daven with shorts? Yes. So the idea is if daven as if you're going out to meet someone important. That's the idea. So today, many people will go to the Knesset with shorts, with pants, if they can. The Knesset doesn't allow sometimes things, but if the Knesset members will go out, they'll meet them with sandals on, so we can be a bit more lenient with that. However, yes, we should try and make sure that we look prepared, we are organized, we're tidy, we don't have pieces of ketchup or, I don't know, chips on our shirt, to make sure that we look fine, we look nice when we meet Hashem. Next seif, and here that comes to a kippah. That comes to a kippah. Says the Shulchan Aruch, Yesh Omrim, some say, and I'll explain soon why it says some say, שאסור להוציא אזכרה מפיו בראש מגולה. Some say that a person shouldn't mention Hashem's name without a kippah on his head. ויש אומרים, some say שיש למחות שלא להיכנס בבית הכנסת בגילוי הראש. Some, there's another opinion, the kolbo, in the name of Rabbeinu Peretz, that's the second opinion, and you should make sure people don't come into shul without a kippah on the head. We're talking about men. Okay, so that's the halacha for men. The Shulchan Aruch, when he has an argument, he'll bring Yesh Omrim veYesh Omrim. Sometimes there's no argument. It's an opinion brought by one of the rabbis, and no one argues about it. So the Shulchan Aruch will use the term Yesh Omrim. That's something, but that's halacha. That's why the Shulchan Aruch brings it. So according to the Shulchan Aruch, a person shouldn't say a bracha, say Kriyat Shema, whatever, without a kippah on his head, a kippah or any other thing which covers his head.
Does that mean it's set halacha?
Yeah, it's halacha, but because it's not, we have some halacha that many poskim bring it. The Rif and the Tur and the Rif and the Rambam and the Tur and the Rosh, many poskim bring it. So the Shulchan Aruch will bring it like that. Many times he'll even copy the language of the Rambam. If it's a halacha brought by one of the Rishonim and no one else argues, so the Shulchan Aruch will bring it, but he'll many times write it in the name of Yesh Omrim, Yesh Mi She'omer, someone who says, because no one argues about it, but it's just brought in one of the Rishonim and not everyone writes it. So that's why he says Yesh Omrim. That's in the Gemara. In the Gemara, yeah. The Gemara is different. The Shulchan Aruch has its own language. The Shulchan Aruch lived about 500 years ago. The Gemara is about 1400 years ago. So that's the language has changed quite a bit. Okay. Some poskim here say, and I just want to read which poskim it is. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Okay, Shlomo Zalman Auerbach and Or LeZion and Rabbi Yoshiv, they write that if someone davened without a kippah, so it's fine. He doesn't need to repeat his davening. Reminds us very similar to a shirt. A person should wear a shirt while he davens, but says the Shulchan Aruch, if he davened without a shirt, so he doesn't need to repeat davening. Okay, so that's according to some of the opinions. But the Igros Moshe, who's the Igros Moshe? Moshe Feinstein. He says that even the non-Jewish people, when they go to wherever they daven, they make sure they have a hat on their head. Someone who davens without a kippah on his head, that's like a to'eva, almost like abomination. That's the appropriate way to daven, with something on your head. Therefore, he says that if a person davened without a kippah, he needs to repeat his davening. Unless he says he was an honest gamur. I'm not sure. He was davening, for example, outside. All of a sudden comes the wind, blows off his kippah. He has no kippah on his head. What should I do? He will just continue davening. What can he do? But he has maybe say that a person who davened without covering his head with something, in just a few moments we'll explain what the something is, he needs to repeat davening. So as we saw, it's a machloket, it's an argument. Some poskim say it's like a shirt. You should daven with a shirt on, daven with a kippah on. If you daven without a shirt or without a kippah, it's fine. You do not need to repeat. Rab Moshe Feinstein says that you need to repeat if you davened without a kippah. So a person, now you're in the pool. The questions we started with. You're in the pool, and the guy runs to the minyan. He wants to join the minyan. He has his shorts on, and he has a t-shirt on, and his kippah disappeared. Okay, his kippah disappeared without other solutions. Okay, we'll have other solutions in a few moments. But his kippah disappeared, and he asks you, should I take off my shirt and put it on my head and have a kippah on my head, but then I'll be shirtless? Or should I keep my shirt on? What answer will you give him? Kippah. Kippah is more important, at least for Moshe Feinstein. It could be a debate according to other opinions, but the kippah seems something very important. The Shulchan Aruch, the language of the Shulchan Aruch, by the shirt it says, you shouldn't daven without a shirt on, but if you daven, if you don't have anything else, or you daven, so it's fine. But the kippah doesn't mention it's fine. It just says, some hold you shouldn't daven without a kippah, and that's it. It doesn't say about being fine. So maybe you can also get it from the Shulchan Aruch. What's the solution? Okay, instead of taking off the shirt, give us a different solution. And the question is, with what can we cover the head? Can you put a hand on the head? So our hand on the head, the answer is no. Because there's a rule that the goof, that's part of my body. My hand is part of my body. I can't cover my head with my body. The same body doesn't cover my body. I can use something else. I can use a napkin. I can use something else, but not my own hand. Can someone else use his hand to cover my head? And I say yes. Because the problem with my hand is that it's my body, so it's not really something covered. It's just my hand on my head. If someone else puts his hand on my head, that's already covering. So if someone puts their hand on my head, I can daven. That's the solution. Or I can find any other thing. I can put maybe the t-shirt up on my head like this. Okay, so that's about what is considered a cover. A hat, okay, even a hat made out of straw. Even if it's made out of straw, so it's not a regular clothes, but it's a hat. You sell it as a hat. That's also considered a cover, so you can put a hat on. That's fine. I heard some people, I'm not sure where you were, Danny, but some people went to the States just lately, and they told me that I asked them, when you're scared going to the States, outside in some places in Manhattan and New York, I'm not sure how it is, but it turns out that some people are afraid, and said, no, I went without a kippah. I had a hat on my head. So a hat you can cover, you can daven with a hat on your head. What? Yeah, so we went, I took a group of soldiers today to some chava, some farm out in, you call it in the middle of nowhere. It's after Lon More, and some of them were scared. Said, how are you scared? You just came to the States a few months ago to a place. No, I hid my Judaism. I hid my Jewish identity. Here you can be Jewish out loud and proud about it. Okay, an interesting thing from the Zohar, which many of us do. And the Zohar says that when a person davens, he should cover also his eyes, or close his eyes. And the idea is that you concentrate more in davening. Because more in davening, and you'll see many people who, when they daven, they put on the talit on the head and also a bit above the eyes. It is like they close themselves. I'm now concentrating, I'm now davening. I'm not focusing on things out of here. I'm focusing here in davening. So that's the Zohar, so cover the head, at least on Shachrit, when we have a talit on, we should cover the head also with a talit on our head. And or use the siddur, or you can use the siddur, or cover or close your eyes. And the idea is simple. If you have a siddur and you're looking at the siddur, so you're concentrating in davening. If you're closing your eyes, you're concentrating in davening. But if you aren't looking at the siddur and your eyes are open, so a person is concentrating in everything in the fly that just came by him and passed. So that's the idea. Close your eyes or look in the siddur. Okay, have your eyes focused in davening. Since we mentioned the Zohar, so it's the way, it doesn't apply so much today, but the clothes you used to wear in the past, the Chacham, they used to cover the head also in the sit down. we don't have those clothes today. We have shirts that you can't move them so much. So a rabbi used to cover the head whenever they davened with whatever it's called, afunda. That it used to be called ituf. But okay, that's doesn't apply so much today, but just another reason why to cover the head with a talit.
Shouldn't an unmarried woman cover her hair when davening?
So why should an unmarried woman cover the hair with davening? Wow, it brings it brings us a big question when I think we have. So we'll try to remember to answer it next week. If not, maybe on the WhatsApp group. Okay, it's an interesting question, but just give a hint to it. There's two reasons for covering the head. One is more modesty, and one is ol malchut shamayim. And typically, we will see that in halacha, the halacha views that the woman, typically we view women as they have more of an inner connection, while men need more help of outer sources for connecting to Hashem. So that goes a bit to answering that. Seder Shulchan Aruch, and just to conclude how we stand with davening, I'll read it and then translate it. No, we don't even have time to translate it. A person shouldn't stand with his, call it the backpack, his backpack or the special pocket for keeping money inside it, and without covering his head and without having shoes on, or if the norm of that community is that that's not how you stand in front of a king. So if you go to the king and you come with your backpack, I'm not sure why, but that will be the norm. So you can also daven like that. But if the norm is that you don't do it, so take the backpack off, unless you're scared it will be stolen or something, but otherwise take your backpack off. If the norm is to wear sandals, that's the normal thing to do. You can wear sandals while davening, but if the normal is that you never go to the Knesset or to meet the Knesset member with sandals on, so don't wear sandals with socks, wear shoes, don't wear flip-flops. That's pretty more common for today. We'll go to the Knesset with sandals, we won't go to the Knesset with flip-flops. So davening also, we should wear sandals and not flip-flops. Now we have 10 seconds to prepare ourselves for davening, as we learned